Before we get started, I see some people looking at the agenda. There's been some cases continued and withdrawn for tonight. I thought I'd let you know before we start. Wheezy and Wheezy has been withdrawn. That's 1600 Kossuth Street. The Arbor Homes, which is by Rainy Brook, has been continued. And then Sterling 27, which is the West Lafayette Golf and Country Club, has been withdrawn. So those three. One was continued, two have been withdrawn. Okay, take that back. Thank you. Land Investors has also been continued. That's on 500 South. So I just thought I'd let you know before we get started. Thank you.
Close. Well, I think so.
I think we're ready. We'll go ahead and call the Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission meeting for November 20th, 2024 to order. And first on the agenda is the roll call.
Jackson Bogan.
Present.
Larry Leverins.
Present.
Gary Schroeder.
Present.
Vicki Pearl. Jerry Reynolds.
Present.
Greg Jones. Todd Roswarski. Diana Looper. Carlos Snodgrass. Rabida Rajganikar. Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Steve Snyder.
Present.
Tracy Brown.
Present.
Jason Demkowski.
Present.
Lisa Dullum.
Here.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
Jody Hamilton.
Here.
Quorum present.
Very good, thank you. Next is our briefing session. Ryan.
Okay, I think you acknowledged the cases that are shown to be withdrawn and continued.
So just go ahead and do that again if you would.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, rezone cases 2950, it's 231 Land Investors LLC, and 2955 Arbor Homes have been continued to December 18th. Rezone case 2946, YC and YC LLC, and 2956 Sterling 27 LLC are withdrawn, so they will not be heard at all. All other cases are ready to go.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Next is approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 16th, 2024 public hearing as submitted.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. New business.
I move to hear and vote on Resolution 2024-08.
I second.
All right, I believe packets have been distributed. Pardon me? Thanks. There we go. I believe packets have been distributed. This did not get into the packet in time due to the RDC meeting this morning. So the we have here is an adjustment to a economic development area, one of two. This first resolution is for the what's known as the Levy Village redevelopment area. The proposal, if you look at the map in the back of the exhibits in blue, shows the areas in question that are being pulled from this this particular area and added to a new allocation area that will be known as the Oakwood Village allocation area. These parcels all touch together. They are connected with the Standard and Hub Chauncey planned development projects that that would have been approved by council. There's also a third contiguous parcel that's a smaller parcel that's also part of this as well. The West Lafayette Downtown Plan supports this, the developments that are well, essentially underway for final review for final detailed plans, mixed-use proposal. And so due to that conformity, staff sees no issues with this at all and recommends approval of the resolution as laid down by the Redevelopment Commission. Happy to answer any questions on this one.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this?
Might be representatives from the city here if they want to talk about it.
Okay. Hearing none, anybody from the commission wish to comment? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
All right, now we have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Larry?
I move to hear and vote on Resolution 2024-09.
I second.
Okay, in the same vein, still within the city of West Lafayette, the what is known as the Cowbearer Cumberland Blackbird, or KCB, Economic Development Area. Its allocation areas and redevelopment plans. There are two amendments that are proposed by this resolution. One by deleting certain parcels and then by establishing a new allocation area. And so there's an expansion and then the creation of a new area known as the Research Advancement District, or RAD. We've got, there's many parcels in here. They're all listed in the report. This particular area does touch both the US 231 corridor plan and the recently adopted Wabash-Tippecanoe Townships plan. This one parcel in that plan would be annexed as part of this, well, not as part of this resolution, but that would be the plan. This is obviously in connection with the SK Hynix proposal. The upshot of all of this is that the proposals for development in this area are in conformity with the comprehensive plan, most particularly the Wabash-Tippecanoe Townships plan. And so, therefore, staff is recommending approval of this resolution for this series of amendments. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on this? Comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a ballot, and please remember to choose your option. That's a general comment.
Unanimous ballot for approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Now that we enter our public hearing portion of the meeting, I have a statement to read. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like for you to know the following. When we hear requests to subdivide land, we're only concerned with whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petition will be given an opportunity to do so. When we are hearing requests for a change in zoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate for that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. The person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, and those of you who wish to oppose will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed to rebut. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body with a majority of 17 is 9. Regardless how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either oppose, if 9 of us agree to either approve or oppose or disapprove the action, the case will be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate city council, town council, county commissioners who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session, and if you need to make a call, please step outside of the room before using your cell phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application, and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendation on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
I second.
All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Larry, first case.
I move to continue Z 2950-231 Land Investors LLC A to GB and Z 2955 Arbor Homes A to R1B to the December 18th APC public hearing.
I second.
All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move to hear and vote on USO Amendment Number 14.
I second.
Larry.
This is a subdivision amendment that has recently been brought to our attention that the county highway and the county auditor's office had some issues with the wording that we've had in our subdivision dedication. We've had several meetings over a few months with them, and we've updated those wordings to make it clear on ownership of the land for dedication. And these are the new statements that will be added in the platting and parcelization process. And that's it, just updating some of the normal documentation.
Okay, very good. Anybody from the audience wish to speak to this? Comments or questions from the commission? The only thing I'd say, I know we talked about this at ordinance committee. We got it worked out, and we think it's a good amendment. So we have a yellow ballot.
We have unanimous approval.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Subdivisions, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on S 5230 MGM Plaza subdivision major preliminary.
I second.
Been a while.
As you can see, this is land here that has had an older hotel on that had got taken down several years ago. We recently had the petitioner come in to seek commercial subdivision, major subdivision approval for a 5-lot subdivision. You can see here they're proposing 5 different lots. There will be 2 to 3 hotels and some additional commercial buildings is what they're proposing. All the commitments are standard. They'll have to go through the construction plans and final plating. And they're requesting bonding with this, if necessary.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or their representative wish to make a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joe Bumbleberg with Ball Eggleston. This is a interesting use of this piece of property, which had a previous use very similar many years ago, which fell into disrepair and, as Larry pointed out, was taken down, and the thing has been sitting bare for several years right now. The staff has recommended conditional primary approval subject to 4 conditions and 8 final plat conditions. My client has advised me that the developer has no objections to any of these. This is a compliant subdivision request for your approval. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Joe. Anyone from the audience wishing to comment on this? Questions or comments from the board?
I'd like to say that the town, and the council and the RDC are excited after 7 or 8 years to finally see some progress on the property, and I know there's a lot of several other adjacent properties that look like are going to start to want to redevelop too, so we're pretty excited.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we have a white ballot, and they did request bonding.
Approval.
Thank you, Larry. Next case, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on S 5231, Rascal Commercial Subdivision Phase 3, Major Preliminary.
I second.
All right, this is a major industrial subdivision. We have a proposed 4 lots at the end of Rascal. This will finish off an industrial subdivision on the southeast side of town. We got some additional outlots for drainage. To the east of this site is Sagamore Commons, or Sagamore Winds, and there will be a buffer between the industrial and the residential uses. These are staff's recommending conditionary primary approval with standard conditions on this subdivision.
Thank you. Petitioner, the representative?
Good evening, Kevin Riley with RTS Law, representing the petitioner. We agree with staff's recommendation and agree to abide by the conditions and request your approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Any member of the audience wish to comment on this? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a white ballot. And I don't remember if they wanted bonding or not.
No bonding? No.
We have a yes on bonding.
Yes?
Thank you. Yes on bonding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Turn your mic on when you say that. Let everybody.
Of unanimous approval.
Thank you, Larry. Next case, please.
I move to hear and vote on S 5232 Peninsula Point Flats, previously Veterans Parkway Apartments, major preliminary.
I second.
We have a major preliminary plat for a 189-unit subdivision with 9 buildings plus a clubhouse. This is a major subdivision. They have one existing entrance that'll be improved. The access will be across from the across from the existing residential access. Most of the conditions are standard, and they're requesting bonding. So staff's recommending approval with the conditions.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or the representative? That's
Kevin
okay.
Riley with RTS Law, representing the petitioner. We agree with staff's recommendation and report and agree to abide by conditions. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Kevin. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a white ballot with a request for bonding.
Again, that's unanimously approved.
Thank you, Larry. Next case, please.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2942 Old Town Companies, LLC, Curtis Sedison, Provenance PD, Phases 3, 4, and 5, PDMX to PDRS.
I second.
Okay. This is a sort of a targeted rezone from the original project that was approved not too many years ago, and of course is underway. Its first 2 phases. First phase is complete. That was sort of right on the corner there of Airport and State. And then the residential program has begun. The phase 2, a mix of both apartments, single-family townhomes, and then single-family detached homes. The original proposal for this segment that is outlined in black there was for additional apartments along Airport, and then a mix of single-family detached and attached homes for sale in the interior portions. And then there's always been a spot reserved for the clubhouse. That was the phase 5. And so this proposal means to change the residential part of this outline from single-family attached and townhomes and apartments to just apartments. But they are also continuing to reserve the Phase 5 portion for the clubhouse. That's just being folded into this this particular rezone area. So those are the three phases in question. So they're going to kind of take a bite out of the original PD, but what's left will continue to abide by its original zone. So the Phase 6, as you can see there, is a continuation of the single-family detached program. And then the Phase 7 was a non-residential, it was in terms of homes or apartments, it was meant to be and is still on the horizon of being a elder care facility, kind of full spectrum care facility. So various buildings there, so you can kind of see that in the Phase 7 area. Phase 8, there's not a lot of room to work with. There's a lot of stormwater management and floodplain, and so, but there are some uses that can be put in there that really don't have any specific firm design guidelines, but there are uses that are permitted in that area. They had originally envisioned, maybe a school use or some sort of civic use, something like that, but nothing particularly intense. In terms of like a high rise or something like that. That was never in the cards. So 3, 4, and 5, the packet kind of shows we have some samples here of the site plan. The street grid that was originally proposed for this area in the first PD largely is unchanged. They're just sort of taking where they were having the building footprints and sort of switching product. And the two different types are kind of these stacked brownstone units that are very similar to the ones along Airport Road now. They're just sort of extending the program, but making some, in my opinion, some improvements to the architectural scheme. And then they have a little bit more traditional townhouse flat type units in the interior of the site that have garages and so forth. And so there's just some mild adjustments. And of course, we have the clubhouse site, which would be coming soon. And so the from staff's perspective, this increase in density is not out of character. The buildings that they're promoting are very much in harmony with what had already been built in Phase 1 and 2. They're just switching, from a for sale product to a rental product in this instance. And so from an urban design perspective, staff can get behind this. From a change in use perspective, like I said, it's a modest increase in density. It's just there's, the difference between the for sale or for rent is really what's at issue. And to that end, staff has no problem with this. So we are recommending approval based on the typical PD conditions that are in the report. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or their representative?
Thank you, Chairman. Curtis Sadison, representing Old Town Companies. I echo Ryan's comments about the change. One thing I will add is this has kind of always been in kind of a 10-year plan. This is kind of us reassessing maybe a miss or a need for the neighborhood, and this is really kind of a transition from a for sale to an apartment. These products offer more of a home where you have garages, you have two-story spaces, things like that, but maybe aren't necessarily ready to get into a for sale product. And so with the flex space that we've kind of always had, this is the only area that we've thought that might change. The townhome sales have not been great, so we look to make a change with PRF and our staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone against?
Please come forward. And any member of the public that's speaking tonight, after you're done speaking, if you could come over to this table and sign in, I would appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Council. My name is David Vorbeck. I and my wife own 150 Parker Wood in the original development. We live there part-time, hostage to our grandchildren. But as the case may be, this change, while being presented by Old Town as a minor change, significantly alters the character of the neighborhood that dozens of us have purchased into, specifically questioning how the HOA is going to function. There is a homeowners association that supposedly or ostensibly is going to have responsibility for pool and clubhouse, although I've heard that the clubhouse is off the table now. That density increase changes the impact on the clubhouse and the pool and the streets and the sidewalks. And most importantly, when we purchased our home, were told in no uncertain terms that the interior portion would be resident or owner occupied. So while it may conform with what may be kind of an idea of what the staff thinks is appropriate, the reality for us is we bought kind of an expectation of what those additional phases would be. And it wasn't a pig and a poke. It was renderings, drawings, explanations, documents, and it was made very clear to us how that interior was going to be developed and that it was going to be owner-occupied. I oppose it specifically on the basis that you can't change, we shouldn't be able to change plans in the middle of a multi-phase construction where people, us, others have been already sold a product. We respect that the developer may take time in selling that product, but the developer's change of direction, wanting to have more of a rental feel, that all sounds good unless you live in that neighborhood and unless you are one of the people who took a leap of faith to trust that developer, to trust the Area Plan Commission, to trust the city of West Lafayette, that the developer would be held to the expectations of the original PD. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else opposed, come up, please.
Sir, if you could please sign in, please, over here. Thanks.
I was hoping to escape.
Hi, I'm Scott Lucero, and my wife's with me, Caroline Lucero. We own at 139 Wayfinder Drive, which is within this subdivision. And I reiterate, and I never met him before, but I reiterate his comments. It's exactly the same, but I won't repeat what he said. But we were told, as a property owner, that there was not going to be rentals in this particular development. And now, we have covenants and restrictions that address that those particular individuals were not allowed to rent for income purposes. So now they're changing the game. And we spent $500,000 to $800,000 on these homes, and we support Purdue University to its fullest extent, but when we talk about dipping into someone's pocket because we are told something and it's written and we agree upon it, it's a contractual agreement. Therefore, I would request this board to take that under consideration and advisement that when you have covenants and restrictions that specifically set it out, and it's in writing, it's recorded in the records here in Tippecanoe County, and I am an old title insurance guy. I understand what those restrictions mean. I've sat in your seats before as a planning and development person and Board of Zoning Appeals up in Jasper County. So I understand what you're going through. I understand the process. But we need to also follow the rules. And until they come to the homeowners association and they address the changes and we actually sit down at the table and discuss these things, I don't think you guys are in a position to be able to vote on this evening. I'd ask that you table it and allow us as property owners to discuss this with the developer. I have got a letter that was presented to me from their sales team that specifies that they were not going to rent. There's restrictions. It's specific from one of their sales reps who's no longer there. But it was stated that there's a total of 84 townhomes being built in the neighborhood, 133 single-family homes. We expect it to be an 8 to 10-year project, which we all accept when we purchased. There's to be a clubhouse and a pool built, that the townhomes and single-family owners will have access to the townhomes, and the HOA dues are approximately $1,800 a year. The HOA for both the townhomes and single-family homes are strictly restricted from renting. And now we're renting, so it's a change. It's a massive change. It's also an impact to the infrastructure, which we pay for as a part of our homeowners association. So they're anticipating 174 times 4 residents if they're going to rent them. That's 788 new residents just in that one area that was not a part of the original process. I understand Purdue has a housing issue, but this is a residential housing issue in our subdivision that we are owners in. I was told as well, and what was provided to us, that there was going to be 250 units. Take that times 4 of rental units. That's what they're really anticipating. That's 1,000, not 788. So, again, it's a massive increase. We do have a bioswale that's in front of our home, which is lot 131 is where I own.
You have about 30 seconds to wrap up to 5 minutes, please.
Okay. And that bioswale is going to pick up a lot of what they intend to run through our subdivision. That's a concern of ours. Over the years, they have not been forthright on a lot of issues, and I just want to throw that out there. We've struggled as a subdivision to meet their demands as well as us.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you. If you'd please sign
Okay.
in, I appreciate that. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak against this? Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee, for hosting us tonight. My name is Marty Rudin. My wife Debbie and I are homeowners at 128 Providence Boulevard in Phase 2. We bought the second lot in the development. I won't reiterate what David and Scott went through. They did a very nice job of summarizing the issues. One thing I did want to call out as Ryan went through his comments is the street structure, street design, excuse me, is not going to fundamentally change. However, as Scott mentioned, with the density going up to somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people, multiply that by the number of cars that are going to be in that neighborhood. It's going to go up, 2, 3x what those streets and parking lots were designed to. So just another element to consider as you think about this issue and this requested rezone. Again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chairman, everyone, thank you very much for hosting this evening as well. Thank you to the planning team for the work that's been put in. So simply what they said, this is Ian Hyatt. I'm at 1573 Dawn Avenue. We're in Phase 2. We were the 5th constructed or 5th completed closing within the community. I would add only that the concern that I have, in addition to what we've heard, is I don't necessarily know that the traffic pattern planning has been looked at by anyone at this point in time. This really will take us right down to the end of Airport Road onto the major intersection across from the airport, which also now has commercial service, and the plan is for that to expand. I won't say I'm in strong opposition. I just think more planning and review should happen as far as things like that, in addition to the things that have been brought up tonight. I'm a huge advocate for Purdue, strangely enough. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a member of the Purdue community as well as this particular development. I moved here 3 years ago with my better half, Carrie. We purchased this home so that we could be part of the community. So that's literally the traffic piece is the one ad that I have, a concern because of that specific location and how things move through the neighborhood. So, and thank you very much. And thank you to the planning team for the hard work they put in, because we were fortunate enough to come and take a look at it today. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? Are we ready for rebuttal? Against, yeah, rebuttal. Does the petitioner have any comments?
All right, thank you. And thank you for your comments. I have spoken with a lot of homeowners previous to this as well that had come forward and asked questions. And so I think there's a little bit of miscommunication out there, and we certainly apologize for that. And so I just want to try and clear a few things up real quick. Regarding the road infrastructure, traffic, and parking, we have met with city officials, fire department, Ryan, APC, and their staff, and we have been requested to provide traffic studies, all turning radiuses for fire trucks, and there is a complete parking diagram for the neighborhood in which we only allow parking on one side of almost every street within the neighborhood, and that was something that was agreed upon at the beginning of the development. So with that being said, I just wanted to make a point that we have gone through extensive studies, both on airport with development on the other side, on the east side as well, and addressed most of those. The stormwater detention, happy to walk through this in grave detail because I'm very familiar with how it works, and the difficulty that we have had to make sure that the stormwater management is in compliance. Nothing that you're seeing in phase 3, 4, 5, and 6 across the development will actually flow north into the bioswale ponds that are currently existing. All of that stormwater management is being designed within phase 3 and 4, and then 6 by itself also flowing south through the senior living development on the bottom, on the south side. So just to alleviate anybody of any potential additional waters being moved into the bioswale ponds, that is not accurate. We've taken careful consideration, understanding that that this was a for sale product prior to 88 townhomes. With a flex space of, I think we had uses of condos and other things within that development. This is going from 88 to 197 total. So I'm not sure where the counts are coming from, the 800 and 900,000. That's simply not the case. We had 88 townhomes, so if you take into consideration that those are families and counts with that, we're coming into 197 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. So I don't think that we're talking the numbers that were just thrown out. So I want to make that clear. The clubhouse and the amenity space has been a big topic for everybody. So I will clear here as well. We are expecting concept plans literally in the next 48 hours of the amenity center. The amenity center will, at a minimum, have a fitness center, a clubhouse, and a pool. There's no question about that. It's absolutely going in. We've also talked about adding outdoor fireplace, shelter space for small events to be held, whether neighbors want to have a book club or guys want to get together and watch a game, something along those lines. But we are excited to share that with the neighborhood. Phases 3 and 4 will trigger that to be built within the next 2 years as we take down these phases. And regarding the kind of design, so if you think about all these blocks that are buildings, those were all 3-story townhomes, stepping down to 2-story townhomes. So the nature of the design is still there. We still only have 3-story product along Airport Road, and that steps down to our 2-story product, much like the 2-story townhomes would, which then blends nicely into the single-family homes. I can say with certainty that there is no additional conversations or thoughts for touching any of the single-family lots moving west into the Phase 6. We're actually trying to get those to go along as well with the current phases, so all the homeowners can feel confident that those lots are locked and will be single-family homes, and we're not looking to make any other additional changes. So if there's not any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So were there rentals already in the neighborhood originally, and you're adding more rentals, or was this always just a for-sale, owner-occupied property always? I'm a little confused.
Yeah, so no, it's a mixed-use development all the way from single-family for rent. So there are already currently 250 apartments at the corner of Mitch Daniels and Airport Road. And so that was our Phase 1. Phase 2 was the single-family lot starts. And then, so now we're just adding for rent product in that Phase 3 and Phase 4.
I have one more question for
Yeah.
you before you leave. How many total single-family dwelling units are owner-occupied?
Our owner-occupied, I believe the number is 135 total within the neighborhood. That's including all single-family phases.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
So Phase 1 is currently apartments?
That's correct.
Phase 2 is where most of the petitioners spoke from? Thank you. Just thank you.
Yep.
I shouldn't have said petitioner.
Got the wide view on again for
Thank you.
context.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot. Thank you.
Everyone? No? Okay. Thank you. We have 10 votes recommending approval and 5 against. So that will continue on to West Side Council.
Thank you. So yes, that'll be what, on December 2nd for West Lafayette City Council. That'll be heard again for those of you of interest. Next case, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2947, Redtail Properties Group LLC, R1 to I3 with commitment.
I second.
Petitioner, who is the City of Lafayette, is requesting the rezoning of 15 acres from R1 to I3. This site's between the Hoosier Heartland and County Road 300 North. Contracting business would like to use this land for the outdoor storage of their heavy equipment. It will not be operating equipment, just storage at this facility. As you can see here, this was an old location that the city had used for their potential well site. The city has changed their plans as far as that potential. We have a commitment from the petitioner that limits some development potential, some additional add some additional prohibited uses. You can see we have quite a few letters here about the rezone case. Staff is recommending denial primarily based on the surrounding uses in close residential areas. And then the potential of heavy industrial that could still potentially go here. So this is a proposed layout of what they'd like to do. Again, staff is recommending denial.
Thank you, Larry. Kevin.
Thank you. Good evening. Kevin Riley with RTS Law representing the petitioner, Redtail Properties. Greg Wildbaker, one of the principals with Redtail, is here to answer questions if you have any as well. As mentioned, Redtail is under one city previously owned or currently owns this, but Redtail is under contract to purchase this ground from the city as part of a land swap. I think it's worth noting that this is a swap that the city initiated, and it is my understanding that the city council has voted on the swap and has approved that. I think it's most recent meeting. This property has been vacant for several years, and again will no longer be used for well fields. Redtail does, as mentioned, plan to use the ground for the storage of construction equipment and materials. That would be through its affiliate R&W Contracting. This property is located at the end of the dead-end road to the east, and you can also see there is a large wooded area to the east as well. Per the ordinance, if this zoning is approved, Redtail will have to install a berm along the west and north property lines. That is a 20-foot wide berm, and there are several planting requirements set forth in the ordinance that we have to comply with respect to that berm. The staff report talks a lot about what the comprehensive plan says for this location. That plan says that this location would be used for utilities, government services. I believe that's because the city had a well field there, and now that that's no longer the plan, there's a need to look at how this site should actually be redeveloped. Despite staff's concerns, we do think that I-3 is appropriate at this zone, especially with the commitments that we have set forth. There is I-2 zoning directly to the west. There's GB to the north, and there is approximately 50 acres of I-3 zoning to the south of this site. The staff report states that I-3 doesn't fit in this northeastern gateway because there are more intense uses are planned for the area east of County Road 500 East. However, currently there is no industrial zoning in that location. I would note, as mentioned, there are several letters in objection to what we have proposed, primarily based on traffic or concerns about traffic. I would note that R&W has 2 triaxle dump trucks. That's what it uses as part of its business. Those dump trucks operate out of their Klondike facility near Klondike Middle and Elementary schools. There would be occasional traffic to this site, but it is not going to be continuous. It's not necessarily even going to be daily. It is more sporadic. So any allegation, indication, concern that this is going to be daily heavy traffic is just not accurate. The usage of the roadway will be, in fact, less than what we would anticipate out of an R1 development, which the property is currently zoned R1. Also be less than what we would anticipate out of a GB development, which GB sits to the north. So we actually think that the traffic impact with this particular use, this particular zone, will be less than those other zones that have been mentioned. I'd also note that R&W Contracting has been operating on school sites and near schools for years, so they understand how to operate around those types of uses, around individuals, so they understand the safety concerns and the needs of the individuals. In terms of the letters that you received from individuals, I would note that with the exception of the church, none of those individuals own residential land close to this site. The 6-page petition that you received, everybody from, by my calculation, that signed that petition lives on the other side of Hoosier Heartland. In fact, many of those people live in a development off of Eisenhower Road, which is a significant different distance from this site. So the people who signed that live at Creek Ridge, North 500 East, North 400 East, East 200 North, East 300 North, Guild Drive, Willowwood, and Mariondale Streets, they all live on the other side of Hoosier Heartland from this location. The Schoafs, who live on Natalie Court, who submitted a letter, they live south of Hoosier Heartland. The brothers and Scott Williams live on Connie Drive, which is over a half a mile away to the north. And Mr. Poole on Farmington Drive lives south of Hoosier Heartland. So those are the people that submitted letters in objection to this request or petitions. I would note that nobody on Clover Lane and nobody on Piney Grove Drive, which are the nearest homes to this site, have filed, signed that petition or sent any letters in to this point. I don't know if anybody's here now, but they haven't submitted anything to this point. So I think it's an appropriate rezone. We are happy to answer any questions that you have, and I request your approval. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? In favor goes first. Okay. And then when you speak, please sign in with Ryan. Ryan, you have something?
Really quick. I believe we have additional letters, Christina, is that correct? Okay, they've been passed around. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
Hi, my name's Greg Wildbaker. I live at 4719 Haven Court in West Lafayette. I'm the president of R&W Contracting and the owner of Red Tail Properties. I would just wanted to give you some information about some context around why we're here. By way of background, R&W Contracting was founded in 1989. We've been doing business around Lafayette for 35 years. We started in my mom and dad's backyard over on Klondike Road, right next to the school. We're still there right now. We've grown a little bit. We have 25 employees or so. Company survived the tornado of '94, the recession of '08, the pandemic of 2020. These are kind of big events for a company. A few projects we've done around you might recognize the city, Loeb Stadium and the lagoons at Columbian Park, Neil Armstrong, the Hall of Engineering, and the Veterinary Hospital at Purdue, Cancer Center at the Franciscan East Hospital, and we're currently working at Klondike Middle and Elementary schools. So we're kind of involved in a lot of different things. We don't advertise much. We don't really want residential kind of business. We just want some bigger commercial projects, so you don't see us a lot. In 2020, we bought 15 acres of land at McCarty Lane. At Klondike, we're only on about 1 acre of land. It's just not big enough for us. So we bought this McCarty Lane property. It's over by the TV station, and we got more room to operate. We store machinery and materials there. A few months ago, the city approached me and wanted to purchase some of the land. I asked them if they wanted it all. They responded that they would. So I went on a quest looking for I-3 land. We need outside storage for our equipment. So there's not a lot of I-3 land around the city. We found this property that the city owned and asked them if they wanted to do a swap. So that's why we're here today. The city had agreed to a land swap, and this particular land is zoned R1, and so we need I-3 to store our equipment outside. So I'm mostly concerned about vandalism and theft in this property. So it's vacant land at the end of a dead-end road. I mean, there's not many neighbors. Seems ideal to me. I called the owner of the land that owned the GB land to the north and asked him if he had a problem, if he'd be opposed to what we were trying to do there. He said he would not be opposed. So that's why we're here today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Greg, if you'd sign in there, please. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, my name is Carl Rogers, and I live at 2520 North 400 East, which is south of this property on the other side of 230, or Hoosier Heartland out there. I went to Klondike Elementary School and Klondike Middle School my entire life. Like Greg previously spoke, they are neighbors to that land. And in doing so, I saw them help take care of the property surrounding that wasn't even necessarily theirs. I know that they are a good neighbor. I've seen it with my own two eyes. It doesn't sound to me like there's going to be a lot of traffic, especially compared to something that would be a residential, which is what it was zoned as prior to this. I absolutely have no opposition to anything that they're requesting. I think it would be good for the area. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Please come forward.
Yeah, I'm Craig Wilcox. I'm an employee of R&W Contracting. I live over on North County Drive. And there's a whole lot more noise than we'd ever create from there, from the gravel pit that these people live by, I think, more than anything. But it's a place that I probably go there maybe twice a week to pick up pipe or whatever, because there's really no traffic that it creates or anything. Like, everybody's trying to say all this stuff that we're going to make, and it's pretty just the area we got doesn't hold everything we have. That's it. I mean, it's pretty I don't know what else to tell you. That it's not a real busy area where we keep everything. It's an overflow of material that we have on the job that are estimate over-ordered, and we have to store it somewhere. So that's the only thing I can tell you about it. If you got any questions on what we bring in or do anything, I mean, I worked for him for 25 years. So.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to oppose this, please come forward and speak. Yep.
My name's Ron Wallace, 3519 East, 200 North, Lafayette, Indiana, 47905. And that's 1 mile south of the location they're talking. I'm not really savvy enough to understand how all this works, but my common sense says if they get this zoning, it don't mean they have to do what they say they're going to do. I think the ground gets the zoning. So there's a tremendous amount of other things could go in there that would not be good for our community. I lived on this address for 50 years, and I'm just afraid it's just not going to be good. So, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Ron. Next, who else for opposed? Please come up. Whoever's next, just be ready to speak next.
Hello, my name is Sally Moeller. I live at 4033 Willowwood Drive, the Willowwood subdivision. I am here to express my displeasure with this rezoning attempt. The fact that you haven't heard from people from Piney Grove and Clover Lane is partly my fault. I haven't been able to get out with the short amount of time that we were given to go door to door and collect signatures from people on Clover Lane and Piney Grove. I sent out brochures, or flyers, excuse me, for the last meeting, which was continued. Everybody has been in a holding pattern to see if this would be continued again. Unfortunately, my husband was in the ER Sunday night. My mother is in the hospital in Bettendorf, Iowa, and my own health has kept me from being able to walk all the streets and roads that I did previously when we were opposed to a milestone coming in with a quarry next to the Heartland Community Church. One of the things I wanted to mention, yes, in 2000, the city of Lafayette bought that property ostensibly for a well field. Yes, they subsequently put a 180-foot well next to roadworks, which, by the way, was a property that came in without our approval. We were not notified that this was coming in, or we would have voted against it. We were fine with general business. We've expressed that several times, and somehow roadworks got in there. Next, when they ran their well test, they knocked out all the water for Piney Grove, Clover Lane, and reduced the water pressure of some homes in Willowwood and Watkins Glen. Wiped it out. I'm sure those people, if they knew this was happening tonight, they would be here. When the test was concluded, the water was restored. We had no water pressure over in Willowwood. Yeah, we're on the other side of the Heartland, but that didn't make a difference. The volume of water that came out of that well wasn't sufficient for the city of Lafayette to develop it further. And that's why they're now trying to swap this property. I don't think it's fair to the people of Clover Lane, Piney Grove. Those homes have been there 50 to 60 years. These people have had to put up with what looks like a prison yard around roadworks. They have like an 8-foot tall fence with barbed wire on top of it. That's what they see when they look out their windows. Now we're supposed to look at big sewer pipes and excavating equipment with nothing covering it. There's no sewer facilities available for this property. Anything that's designated I-3 is supposed to have at least sewer, public sewer facilities. This property does not. Many of the wells in Piney Grove and Clover Lane, some in Willowwood and Watkins Glen, our static water table is between 40 and 60 feet down. This information is from DNR. I'm not making this up, and I've got the records that I could show you. Many of these wells don't have a protective 10-foot clay layer above their static water table. So their wells are vulnerable to any kind of contamination. If there's any oil leaking out or they're changing, have some chemicals carried in something, whatever, it could seep down and very easily get into their water table. We're very concerned about the precedent that this rezoning would establish. As you know, it's an R1 right now. If you change it to an I3, then odds are the property in front of it, right off of 300 North, will also go to I3, which is what we do not want, adamantly do not want. The traffic, as you have been told, is not that great. It has been increasing precipitously. The school bus routes, they go right past that site. And many parents at the Heartland Community Church, there's a preschool there. They go in to drop off their kids and pick up their kids. There's not good visibility on 300 North on the overpass. You can't see cars approaching from 300 East coming up that hill. You can't see them. Same deal if you're coming off of 400 East. Yes, sir. What I would like to ask those in the audience, please stand up if you disagree with this petition to rezone this property from R1 to I3. This lady there too. I personally have, and another individual, have collected over 60 signatures in like 2 days of people against this. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd please sign in.
Yes,
and then anyone else wishing to speak against this, please come up. Just whoever's next, just be ready.
Good evening. My name's Ted Foster. My wife and I live at 4009 Jenny Lou Drive in Willowwood. First, a bit of background. For 32 years, I worked for the phone company. Part of my duties during that time were to manage dozens of projects to clean up contaminant from spills into the soil that were caused by my company. That was a long time ago, but I can tell you from that experience that, well, first off, I'm not trying to take a dig at Red Tail or Roadworks or any of the companies that are there. No reputable company wants to have a spill, but they do occur. And for every new area here that is rezoned, you're adding a bit of risk into that. A plume of contaminant, whether it's petroleum-based or something else, doesn't care about the Hoosier Heartland as a barrier. And if it does get down into the groundwater, where it goes and how it goes can lead to a lot of expense, a lot of problem. 14 years ago, when the board last considered this area for zoning to I3, the consensus at the time was that that was not a good idea with so many neighborhoods around here being on well and septic. We, at the time, requested that the area be limited to commercial and residential use going forward, just to limit that risk. We respectfully ask again that the board can consider that, at least until such a time as when municipal water, municipal sewer is available as an alternate for these areas to mitigate that risk. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Isidore Hetkin. I live at 4040 Willowwood Drive. My wife and I are both here. I really don't like to see this go to I3 because of what it may do down the road as well. Even though what they're doing, they say doesn't matter. If they sold it off, it's still I3, and then the next people can do what they want. Likewise, neighbors are going to want it to go that way. When my wife and I went to build our home 43 years ago, we had to sign a thing saying we would not complain about Eretz Airport because of its noise and its pre-existing. We're pre-existing. Traffic doesn't happen a lot, but we now have semis that go up and down that winding hill, try to pass that. That's kind of a concern to me when we have those kind of situations happening. I just don't, my big thing was what's going to lead to if we go to industry now. Back in 2016, I was a part of a committee put together by Tippecanoe County when the Hoosier Heartland first opened, asking us to decide potentially what could be available or what should be allowed in the areas of the Hoosier Heartland. And I think that's a part of your information that you have. And that was to be residential or strip mall, something of that nature, not industrial. So it was something clear back in 2016, a committee got together, and it was a part of Tippecanoe County that asked us to participate in that, and industrial was not a part of what we would have recommended in that area, so thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Robin Ridgway, and I live at 3614 East, County Road 200 North, so in the neighborhood of this area. As other speakers have noted, the area is not served with city utilities, so there's no city water and there's no city sewer in the area at all, and I believe that a rezone to I-3 is inappropriate because of the lack of utilities in that area. The proposed use isn't in and of itself an issue. They're saying just storage or whatever, but I-3 zoning, of course, opens up lots of other possible uses. Now, I know that there's an Exhibit B at the back of the report where they're agreeing on prohibited uses. However, my concern is that the list is at the mercy of the definitions of what's on the list as well, and it is dependent upon the commitment itself as far as legal tool, and that is beyond my understanding. So I don't know about the legal underpinnings of such a commitment, and I'm concerned that it is not as solid as if we stayed the course on what is an appropriate zoning in that area. That is my concern. So I did want to recognize that they did have some commitment about what they won't do, but it's not a full list, and again is at the mercy of those definitions. So that's what I wanted to say. So I'm against it, obviously.
Very good.
And I resigned.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name's Christine Blissett. I'm with my husband, Matt Blissett. We do live on 3610 Clover Lane. A big part of why we didn't know about this was the location of the sign. I understand the sign just has to be somewhere on the property. However, the location of the sign was at the farthest corner of the property, which is a dead end, no cars, nothing at all goes down there. Absolutely nothing. It looks like a dead end on the right on that picture, which is actually not a dead end. It leads into more residential homes in that area. So our biggest concern, obviously, I grew up in the area. I've lived there. My grandpa actually owned the house that we own now. Our biggest concern was always that we were going to have more houses behind us where the field is. Well, clearly that's not the biggest concern lately as more businesses come in. But having this business leads to other businesses later on in the future that may not be doing what they're doing, but could cause a lot more damage than what they'd cause. That's our biggest concern. So we oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Anyone else wishing to speak against this petition? Last call. Okay, petitioner, do you have a rebut?
Just a couple of comments. Sorry, a couple of comments. One, the commitment, those are tied, as you all know, you've seen commitments. The uses are tied to the use table, so it's very specific as to what we are prohibited from doing that would otherwise be permitted in I-3. And then the only other thing I would add is, you've got, again, you have GB to the north. I think I heard people say, well, we'd rather have GB down here. The GB is going to lead to more traffic than an I-3 use. I mean, I think that is a pretty consistent situation or occurrence with GB. You have a lot more traffic. I mean, you could have a gas station in there. You have all kinds of things with GB. So I don't think that the traffic that is going to be generated at our site is going to be a problem. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I got a quick question, if you would. Councilor, the intent from R&W at this time is just to use that parcel for a laydown area, correct?
Yes.
So there's no plans to build any structure, so utility needs are not warranted as far as water and sanitary waste? And again, the heavy traffic use that seems to be an issue or a contention, is limited to 2 to 3 times a week as far as getting in and out with supplies and material as needed from different construction sites. Is that my understanding?
I will let Greg answer that. I don't know the exact, the numbers on that.
So it varies, and 80% of the time, there's no traffic. But then there are times when we're switching jobs, and we got to get in there and move equipment around, and it'll be a little heavier then. So,
But average-wise, it's pretty mundane?
It's pretty light.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd just like to add, there's questions about the water and sewage out there. As a representative and supportive of this project, the city of Lafayette, as a retired firefighter, I've fought many fires out in that section. It is in Fairfield Township. Matter of fact, Pershing Farm, where now Watkins Glen is, was the railroad would burn, set his farm on fire, that all wooded, and we spent many days out there and would have loved to have a lot of water. And I was supportive of putting the water out there, and we come to find out as we started investigating, some of these residents didn't want anything to do with water, they didn't want anything to do with sewers, they didn't want anything to do with annexation, anything. So we concentrated on going out 26 east and south of town where we already have water and sewage, and that's where we're expanding to. And so this property now is really no use to us. And so as a city councilman, I do support this project.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other comments, questions from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot, please. You're right. Thank you. We have a commitment first. And commitment first, and as we've learned in the past, even though you may be opposed to the rezone, it's probably best to approve the commitment. Otherwise, the rezone may go forward without a commitment. Commitment says at the top of the ballot, I believe.
Says, yeah.
Just take commitments first? Yeah, let's just take commitments first. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'll be back. Okay.
You got the voice.
All right, we'll tally the commitment vote first. We have a unanimous ballot in favor of the commitment.
Okay, if we can vote on the rezone now, please.
All right. We have 13 ballots in favor and 2 against.
So that will go on to the County Commissioners meeting on December 2nd with a recommendation to approve that. Next case, Larry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2954, Tippecanoe LLC, A to I3.
I second.
All right. The site in question here, as you can see, is right next to the floodplain, multiple floodplain areas. It's currently zoned A, agriculture. The it's an unimproved site, partially cleared in crop production and then heavily wooded on the remaining site. It does have frontage on 9th Street, and it is also not connected to public utilities. And that's really at the heart of our argument here, as well as we have the benefit of the Wabash-Tippecanoe Township's plan, which did recommend sort of an agricultural wooded type of zone and land use. Given the adjacencies, given the condition of the site, it would seem to qualify. And so given the lack of utilities, environmental sensitivity of the adjacent floodplain areas, and our own land use policies recommending against an intensification of this kind, we are recommending denial. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Petitioner.
Well, good evening, one and all. It's been a little while since I've got a chance to see you. My name is Marianne Owen. I'm from the law firm of Stewart and Brannigan. You've had a definite evening, starting it off with Joe Bumbleberg with the subdivision. I think you all can take a breath. It's going to be all right. It's just me wrapping up the rezones. Well, I'm here tonight with Beth Forst, who is representing the petitioner. We're here to request your recommendation for approval to the county commissioners of the rezoning of approximately 46.29 acres. This property is located on North 9th Street near Swisher Road. And we are looking to have the rezone from A to I3. And this is a zone, as was just mentioned, that is like many of the properties in the nearby area. This is an area that was intended to see industrial development, and what we are coming to you with is just that. This is to allow our clients to develop this property as an extension of its current property just adjacent to this. What they do is have indoor metal fabrication and commercial trailer manufacturing with some outdoor storage. That development, this expansion is exciting in that it looks to bring some additional jobs to our community, which doesn't necessarily fall under our rezoning process, but it doesn't hurt to know that. The area, as I mentioned, has many industrial projects currently, as well as commercial properties. And these properties have gone through many of the items that have been noted in the staff's report. And this development is going to have to go through them too. And so there's a lot to be said, a lot to thank the staff for really creating a very good to-do list for our client in its process of its plans for this project. They've already set forth this, but they need the rezoning to go much further. We are pleased that this site has addressed many of the concerns that were raised when they came forth with the other site. We are further away from the park. This is a site that is adjacent to their existing property and is looking to be a better fit than the prior site. We are really, as we say, looking forward to having your positive support for this project. We are here to try to answer any questions you might have. And with that, I turn to you and look for anything you might say and anything that those who are here might say.
Very good, thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone opposed to this petition that would wish to speak? Questions or comments from the board?
I have a quick question for Marianne. So the current facility is on well and commercial septic, is that correct?
It is currently not served. It needs to go through the process to be served.
Well, I'm talking about their current.
Oh, their current.
Their current
yes,
operation.
as I understand. No, it is not. I'm sorry. Here, why don't we have Ms. Vorst come join me and speak to the existing facility?
So we are on a septic system where we're at, but along North 9th Street is where the main line of the Indiana American Water is. So we have hooked up with the water. We actually have a fire hydrant on our facility they had to buy land off of us to be able to put in that huge line. So I'm sure we'll have plenty of water capabilities. And like I said, we do have a fire suppression hydrant at that facility as well.
Okay.
If you just give us your name for the record, please, just your name and address.
Beth Vorst.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions, comments from the board?
Real quick, I just, in the staff report, so based off of the last conversation, it says the absence of public utilities suggests this area is not appropriate for development. And so I just want to point out that I believe we need to correct that statement. Am I wrong on that, or?
No. But you really can't develop, completely without sewer. so it's sort of, maybe halfway there. But yes, you are correct. We're lacking one public utility.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
And I would also add that, I do appreciate the fact that I know the other location wasn't ideal, and so I appreciate the what you went through to try to find this better location. So, and the fact that it's adjacent to your current location, I think is really ideal. So, thank you for that.
Other comments? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne.
We have 13 ballots in favor, 2 against.
Very good. So that will go to the county commissioners on December 2nd for their consideration with a recommendation of approval.
Many thanks.
You're welcome. Administrative matters.
We have Tim Stroshine, who would like to introduce something to you.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I do know many of you, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tim Stroshine. I'm with the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County. I am the Assistant Director for Transportation Planning. And so what I'm here to talk to you about today is the Transportation Study Committee. So this is one of the subcommittees of the Area Plan Commission. It meets as called. I have there on the slide the members of this committee. It is currently inactive, and so what we would like to do is activate it. And I'm going to explain, hopefully, if this goes, there we go, what that's for. So we have something that we call our Metropolitan Transportation Plan that we update every 5 years. It's a document that looks out 25 years into the future to try to project the transportation needs of our community. And one of the big parts of that is to put together what we call goals, objectives, and performance measures, which I have outlined on the slide. I'm not going to go into too much detail I'm not trying to put anybody to sleep here. But essentially, the goals are very high-level things. Objectives are practical ways we can achieve those goals, and performance measures are how we quantify how well the goals and objectives are being met. So what we would like to do is get some input from this subcommittee on goals, objectives, and performance measures for the next update to this long-range plan. In order to do that, we foresee having a couple of meetings of the subcommittee. The first meeting will be kind of an introduction. I will explain to them in more detail exactly what we're trying to do. I will show some examples of other goals, objectives, performance measures we've used in the past, and then we will get some input from the committee so that we can kind of have another set of eyes vetting this. And then at that point, after probably a couple iterations of that, we will take this to the public for their feedback and input. So I believe the correct procedure is to ask the president to activate this committee. Am I correct on that? Okay. So I also, of course, am happy to answer any questions that anyone has about this as well. I don't want to rush through this.
Yeah. So Tracy's in charge.
Count me as activated.
Yeah, we obviously, if you visit the bylaws from time to time, we do have a host of committees that are activated as needed. And staff discussion, we see some value into bringing this back. I mean, Ordinance Committee has been active for a long, long time. Personnel, Bylaw Committee from time to time. But the Transportation Study Committee is one that's been dormant, and we see some value into bringing it back specifically for this task. And after this task is over, it may have continued utility. It may could be another standing meeting that the public can have a forum to be able to discuss transportation matters in early stages, similar to ordinance changes with Ordinance Committee. So that's why we're here discussing this.
Very good. I might say that some of you might see your name up there for the first time. So some of those committees are just kind of arbitrary. Say what now? Okay. What I was going to say is these are arbitrarily kind of picked to fill out these committees. Sometimes they're activated, sometimes they're not. So if you're on there and you don't wish to serve, or maybe have a conflict where you can't, or if there's someone that would like to be on that committee, let me know and we can probably make that happen. So I'm not sure how often you would like to meet.
So for the start of this, like I said, our task is really just focused on these goals, objectives, performance measures. It should probably be about 2 or 3 meetings, I would estimate. Obviously, with the holidays coming up, I'm not going to try to schedule any meetings in December, so it would be after the first of the year. And I will reach out via email once that lineup is finalized, and so then we can work on scheduling at such time that people would be available.
And Mr. President, just a reminder, this set was established at the beginning of this year, and as we're coming to the end of the year, in January, we'll have an opportunity to reshuffle the deck. So.
Thanks for the reminder. I think there is an empty spot on there, Jackson. Yeah. It seems you have some interest in that. So I'll consider that committee activated, if that's what it takes. And so we'll work on that after the first of the year. So, very good. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Okay, next.
All right. So I promised last time to give you a demonstration of our APC development portal. It was mentioned in a director's report a couple of months ago, and since then there have been folks that were unaware of it, and so I figured we'd kind of make a public presentation about it. So you go to our homepage on the county's website. You just scroll right down, you'll see a very big picture, and this is actually a big button. And so you just click into it. And the objective of this GIS tool is to try to answer the question for the kind of average citizen who's maybe not really plugged into development issues of what's going on right now. So it's meant to be kind of a current event type thing. And so when it pops up, there's immediately, you're flooded with statistics and a map. But you'll see upcoming cases, and so these are going to be coming soon on a public hearing, and all you have to do is just click onto it, and it'll take you there. And the meeting details, what the proposal is. If there was more detail to add, we would add it. If there was a non-binding site plan, or if it's a planned development, it would have images of what was proposed, that sort of thing. And so it's meant to really just kind of capture as much of the regular petitions that we normally see: Board of Zoning Appeals cases, rezone cases, subdivisions. You can kind of see down here in the legend of what we're trying to track: single-family, multifamily, mixed use, platted projects. And then actually, as you zoom in to any one area, additional information starts popping up. You'll see little triangles that have, building permits that were, applied for the opening of a new business or something like that. And so it's really, and then as projects are completed, they will fall off this map to make room for the next round. So this isn't meant to kind of store everything that's ever been built, because that would get really messy. But it's a way that we're hoping that the public can just pop in, see what's going on, maybe get their questions answered. And then, if they have additional questions, they know where to find us. But this, I think, will answer a lot of folks' questions about what's going on. So we're in the process of trying to further finesse it by adding future road projects, both within our TIP, anything NDOT's up to, any other local projects, sidewalks, trails, that sort of thing. So that you can kind of switch it off, like, hey, I'm interested in transportation stuff. Let me click that, and then that's all you see. Let's see them together, that kind of thing. So there'll be some more additions to this as we try to perfect it. But feel free to, at your leisure, go through it, and if you see any tweaks or anything else you'd like to see, or make it softer on your eyes, whatever you like, just let us know. But otherwise, we're happy to present this. So. Yeah.
So, of the 43 plans approved, how long will they stay on?
Yeah, the objective with that is as they're seen through to completion. After construction, right. We want to see it in the ground, then it can come off. It might linger there for a little bit, if people are still interested. But after the grand opening, it's done. So obviously, with some of the subdivisions that are multi-phase, it may take several years for them to finally fall off, but so.
Along with that, I know you say it may get messy, but I didn't know if it made sense to archive those by years, that you might have 24 closes, they all stay there. Now we start a new year, so
that's
when
an
we're looking
interesting idea.
back 4 or 5 years, we can look back at a project and kind of.
So maybe a snapshot in time
just
at the close
that.
of the year?
Yeah, just
okay. I like that idea.
Carry forward what you've got. What's completed in 24, just leave there.
Right.
Start a new year.
Right. That way you just have a snapshot of completed projects as they move on.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look into that. Okay.
Where did this come from?
I've seen lots of localities around the country that do cool stuff like this, and I was like, I want one. And so I've mentioned the idea to Dalen Olgus, our GIS wizard, and she really pulled out all the stops. I kind of showed her some examples of what I was into, and I said, tell me what you can do with this. And, her first draft was like, like 98% there. And so so I was very, very impressed, and I was delighted that we could use her talents. And she's continuing to finesse it, but this is really her baby. I kind of gave her the idea, but then she made it happen. And so a lot of kudos to Dalen, for this. And she normally doesn't come up here, but maybe I should bring her up and you all could give her a little round of applause, because she certainly deserves it. Yes. Yeah, this is our baby.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, and we'll let her know.
Are staff reports linked to those? Maybe the case on the right, is that where we'd find the staff report, or do you still have to go someplace else?
Let's see.
We click on that.
Well, like if you go to like the Levy Landmark Project, I believe there's a link. Ooh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's actual plans that we've got cross-linked into our database, because we scan all these things. So then you can look at it and say, well, what's coming? This is what's coming, And this one's actually, they're having pre-construction meetings now with the city about this thing. So
very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, as you continue to use this, you may think of ideas of your own, like what you just mentioned, Gary, and please send them our way. And believe me, I think Dalen can pull it off. So I have a lot of confidence in her abilities. So
very nice. I've used it and shown it to people. It is pretty amazing. People ask you what's going on. It's right there.
Yeah, we did, when we finally felt comfortable going public with it, I did do sort of a press blast, and I got immediate feedback from folks from TV and other outlets that were just like, this is great. This answers a lot of our questions, So mission accomplished.
Very good. Good, thank you. December Executive Committee agenda. There isn't anything. How about December ABZA?
I move the following petitions be placed on the December 4th, 2024 Area Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing agenda. BZA 2178, Dylan Dempsey, Carlson Consulting Engineers. BZA 2179, James E. Rowe Living Trust. And BZA 2180, William P. and Gail G. Gettings.
I second.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move the following special exception request will not adversely affect the comprehensive plan. BZA 2179, James E. Rowe Living Trust.
I second.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the following requests for variance from the Unified Zoning Ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited under consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2178, Dylan Dempsey, Carlson Consulting Engineers, and BZA 2180, William P. and Gail G. Gettings.
I second.
All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Director's report.
It was submitted, I think, last night. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none. Now, citizens' comments or grievances. Anybody have any public comments? Please come forward. Name and address, please. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Blanco. I live at 1200 Happy Hollow Road. I am also a member of the West Lafayette City Council with a couple of you. So I'm here for a very simple reason, to urge you to bring the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, back to the West Lafayette City Council as soon as you possibly can, because we had requested that back in May, and I'd like to see it. So it's just, to my knowledge, according to the staff that I had talked with, the ordinance has been ready for the most part for quite a while. So I would like to see it moved to our agenda as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
It'll arrive in the new year, January. This is going to APC in December.
Okay. Yeah, I thought we had that through and on the
Correct.
agenda. So.
Right. Yeah, there's an advertisement requirement because it's an ordinance change. So that's why we got the 30 days that kicked in.
Okay, very good. So we'll have that back in December. Any other citizens' comments? or grievances? Hearing none, I'll take that final motion.
I move we adjourn.
Or adjourn. Thank you.
Back.